Houthi militia delegation flies to Riyadh to discuss with Saudi officials a permanent ceasefire agreement. World Bank says Yemenis face hard living conditions due to the 9-year conflict. Libya's Derna city is closed off as death toll rises and search for 10,000 missing continues. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Roshan Fuad. A Houthi delegation arrived in Riyadh yesterday to resume talks about peace efforts in Yemen. Such a move could pave the way for permanent peace in Yemen. The following report gives more details.
A delegation from the Houthi rebels has flown into Saudi Arabia for talks with the kingdom on potentially ending the years-long war tearing at the Arab world's poorest nation. It remains unclear what terms are being discussed between Riyadh and the Iranian-backed Houthis, who have held Yemen's capital of Sana'a since September 2014. But this first public trip by a Houthi delegation comes after regional rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran reached a Chinese-mediated earlier this year, and as there has been a flurry of diplomatic activity between the different parties in the proxy war. This latest effort appears to have begun with a visit Monday to Oman by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the assertive son of King Salman. On Thursday, King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed repeatedly received letters from Iran's president. The substance of the letters was not publicly acknowledged by either country, but they came as an Omani delegation visited Houthi leaders in Sana'a. Early Friday, sources acknowledged that a Houthi delegation had been invited to the kingdom without elaborating, and they added that the 10-member Houthi delegation had flown into Riyadh on Thursday night. Jake Sullivan, President Joe Biden's national security advisor, welcomed this move and thanked Oman for its role in brokering the talks. Yemen has been ravaged by war since 2014, which led to the death of hundreds of thousands of Yemenis, mostly civilians, as a result of the violence and fighting, with tens of millions being wounded, internally displaced, and made dependent on international humanitarian assistance for their daily survival. In the past, the two warring sides tried to find a resolution to end the conflict in talks brokered by the United Nations and other parties, but despite significant advances, such as a 6-month-long ceasefire, those talks fizzled out. These latest talks have given many new hope for a permanent resolution to once and for all end the war and the conflict.
The International Organization for Migration announced the displacement of 26 Yemeni families over the past week. The organization said that it monitored the displacement of 26 Yemeni families, representing 156 individuals during the period from 3 to 9 September. It indicated that the displacement cases, and the majority of them, settled in Ma'rib, Shabwa, and Taiz governorates. A new report issued by the World Bank highlights the hardships faced by Yemenis in the wake of the 8-year-long conflict, which is continuing to affect food availability, education access, health provision, and livelihood stability. This report has more details.
According to the World Bank, since the start of the civil war 8 years ago, the lives of Yemenis have been characterized by hardship, uncertainty, and a painful struggle for survival. Many have turned to extreme methods of coping, such as cutting back on meals. In its new report, Voices from Yemen, the World Bank aims to shed light on Yemenis' experiences. From 2019 to 2022, the World Bank team conducted in-depth interviews with 156 people from several Yemeni governorates. According to the report, to stretch limited resources, families have had to resort to extreme coping techniques, such as lowering meal frequency, restricting the type of food consumed, and prioritizing which family members eat. Oftentimes, parents are forced to sleep without dinner so their children can eat. Children's education has also been severely impacted. Schools are underfunded, teachers are few, and many families cannot afford to take their children to school. According to a school principal from Hajjah, his school has 1,050 kids and just 6 rooms, one of which is used as housing for instructors. one for the principal's office and the remaining four for classrooms. The World Bank stated that healthcare access was similarly affected, with many people refusing medical care except in most severe crises due to high costs and restricted service availability. According to the report, a health worker from Hodeidah stated that they used to provide free services and medicine. However, they must now charge patients and issue them prescriptions to purchase medication from pharmacies. People stopped coming because they couldn't afford it, especially since the commute is prohibitively expensive. According to the report, internally displaced Yemenis face additional challenges. They face ongoing threats of displacement, the deterioration of their livelihoods, and increased living expenses, as they brave a hazardous path to safety and seek basic necessities. According to the World Bank, the fighting and ensuing humanitarian response have affected the local community, harming all sectors, from education to health care. The report emphasized the importance of finding comprehensive and long-term solutions to Yemeni suffering. It urged governments, humanitarian actors, and the international community to shift away from short-term assistance and towards more sustainable measures to address the core causes of the crisis and lay the groundwork for a more stable and prosperous Yemen.
The joint forces thwarted the movements of the Houthi militia in the coastal strip south of Hodeidah. Field sources said that the units stationed from the joint forces in Hodeidah Axis destroyed Houthi targets after they detected new and intense movements off the coast of the Red Sea. It confirmed that direct hits were achieved against the new fixed and moving targets. Local sources in Ib said that armed elements affiliated with the Houthi militia attacked a number of students from the Higher Institute of Health Sciences. The sources reported that Houthi elements severely beat students at the Higher Institute for Health Sciences in the city of Ib. According to the sources, armed elements affiliated with the Houthi militia stormed the event, honoring the top students of the Health Institute. An armed gang brutally tortured a young man to death in Ib Governorate, which is under the control of the Houthi militia. Local sources said that an armed gang kidnapped a young man and tortured him for long days in an unknown place in a heinous manner. According to the sources, the gang members took turns beating the young man in a brutal and horrific manner until his death condition worsened. Then they transferred him to a hospital in Taz. According to the Libyan Meteorological Agency, entire neighborhoods in Derna were carried away by water after two aging dams broke, creating a catastrophic and out-of-control situation. This report has more details.
Almost a week has passed since Storm Daniel flooded many cities in eastern Libya. A quarter of the Libyan city Derna completely vanished after the storm hit the country. Libyans attacked the authorities for failing to maintain the country's infrastructure, accusing them of corruption and wasting the oil wealth of the nation. At least 5,100 people were killed when two dams in the highlands above the city broke, bringing flooding surging down the Wadi Dirna River and across the city center. Entire city blocks were destroyed. Search crews went through streets, destroyed structures, and even the water in search of victims. The majority of the development there was unregulated. The communities and valleys enclosed to the breached dams ought to have been evacuated after the death toll reached 11,300 people. Libyan authorities buried locals from the flood-ravaged city of Dirna in the country's east so that search teams could search through the mud and demolished structures for the 10,000 individuals still missing. According to the Director General of the Ambulance and Emergency Service in eastern Libya, Dirna has been evacuated and only search and rescue teams will be permitted to enter. As indicated by the Libyan Red Crescent, 11,300 individuals were killed in Dirna and another 10,000 were reported missing. Also, around 170 people were killed elsewhere in the country by the Mediterranean storm Daniel. The health minister for eastern Libya said the funerals have so far taken place in mass graves outside Dirna and adjacent towns and cities. He added that rescue teams were looking everywhere in the city of Dirna and were searching through damaged structures in the city's center. Residents reported that they heard huge explosions when the dams outside the city collapsed shortly after the storm reached the city Sunday night. Finally, countries like Egypt has sent 3 military planes carrying large amounts of humanitarian aid, medical supplies, search and rescue teams, and working groups from the Egyptian Red Crescent to Libya to help with the devastation that happened in the country.
Coming next. Yemen's ancient mud buildings and architecture faces the risk of destruction. Welcome back. The director of the Education Office in Hais inspected the progress of the education process in the countryside. During the visit, they were accompanied by the chairman of the Social Affairs Committee of the local council and the judge. The judge called on international and local organizations interested in the field of education to go to the damaged schools, restore and furnish them, and support teachers and students. The Humanitarian Action Cell of the National Residence distributed school bags in Morais, north of Dara. This came as part of the back-to-school campaign for the new academic year 2023-2024, with the support of Brigadier General Tariq Muhammad Saleh. The director of the Education Office appreciated the efforts of the head of the Political Bureau branch in supporting the directorate. The Water Corporation in the Makha district called on citizens to cooperate with the administration and pay water bills to confront the shortage of diesel. Since the liberation of Al-Makha from Houthi militants, the Arab coalition has been supporting the corporation with salaries and diesel. The corporation said that the leadership of the joint forces has reduced 5,000 liters of diesel provided to the corporation. architecture, the oldest building style in the governorate, has flourished in recent centuries, but faces extinction due to modern construction demands. This report has more details.
In Shabwa Governorate, mud architecture is a component of the cultural legacy that is deeply rooted in history. As a result, it still reflects the environment and the cultural identity of the area. With its numerous artistic and engineering elements, it's thought to be the most ancient type still in use in governmental buildings. Its historical roots go back to Osan, Qataban and Hadramaut kingdom eras. However, it really took off in the last 3 centuries. The latter is still prevalent and supported by living evidence, particularly in the eastern and southern districts of the governorate up to now.
Mud architecture is the most important, most famous, and most abundant architectural feature in Shabwa. This architectural style is one of the ancient styles known to mankind and dates back to the era of ancient kingdoms such as Qataban and Osan.
Mud architecture is characterized by a variety of geometrical and artistic patterns and designs, some of which have more than 7 floors. It has appealing aesthetic decorating touches. Besides, mud structures are distinguished by their endurance against climate extremes and erosions over extended periods of time. Due to its adaptability to erratic weather patterns and seasonal rituals, residents especially enjoy being indoors in the winter and the summer.
Mud architecture is compatible with the nature of the region's atmosphere, as the region is hot in the summer and warm in the winter. But one of its disadvantages is its rapid deterioration due to the lack of constant restoration.
This type of architecture is historically significant and has a remarkable cultural impact. Nevertheless, it's in danger of being lost forever because of ignorance and the nearly total absence of the official or societal role of construction. The need for the use of buildings, materials and new constructions persists. This governorate's distinction as having one of the most notable and cutting-edge architecture arts serves to emphasize its artistic, architecture and cultural characteristics.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Houthi militia delegation flies to Riyadh to discuss with Saudi officials a permanent ceasefire agreement. World Bank says Yemenis face hard living conditions due to the 9-year conflict. Libya's Derna city is closed off as death toll rises and search for 10,000 missing continues. This is the end of the news. It was Roshan Fouad. Thank you for watching.